Hey everybody, I am Ken and welcome to a series of videos I'm calling School Board Insider. This is stuff the average person doesn't get to see. Now I'm in my guitar shed, I'm comfortable here. I am actually in between tasks of making red shellac for a guitar out of the Kino or amber of eucalyptus sideroxylon, and filling out campaign documents for the third time. I currently sit on the Acton Agua Dulce Unified School District Board of Trustees. This is my second term. I've served at the end of this in December 6 years. And I started off at a time where there was a lot of charter schools, a lot of lawsuits, a lot of whatever you want to call it. Anyway, if you need to go down the rat hole and see cut to the bone truth and me in my first campaign videos, you can subscribe to my channel. And at the end, there will be a playlist popping up where you can go down that rabbit hole if you want to. But anyway, I have decided to do a series of videos leading into this campaign called School Board Insider. Now, let's talk a little bit about who I am really quickly. In my day job, I am a public servant. I work for a municipality that has, beyond a doubt, the most probably recognizable name of any city in the world. And this city, I'm a program manager there, has the highest customer service expectations, and those are measured. That's not just a term that we use. There are performance measures, and so I'm not the average government employee by far, and I think what I pride myself in as an employee is that the things that our city council wants and our commissioners and those types of things, I actually enjoy those challenges. I enjoy their expectations. And I don't just go home and besmirch everything and collect a paycheck. And that has made me really effective, I think, when I'm sitting on a school board, because I know what it's like to be on the other side of the fence as an employee. And so I think that really helps in my service. So when you hear what appear to be over the edge type expectations, those are the same kinds of expectations that I deal with at work. Now, what this is all about is I build guitars out of junk. I build them out of license plates, and I look at this one. If I don't knock everything over in the process, coffee cans, and then you see yard sale guitars, old arch tops popping up. And then I build this kind of thing. And they go out to blues players all over the world. And the reason I started making these guitars was over an issue with a nonverbal child. And the more I look at life, the more I tend to speak for those who either can't or just won't or might not have the ability to. Listen, there is a person that has one of my guitars named Margaret Garrett, and she's going to kind of tell you where the story started with me and all these guitars. This is Chick Flick T.O. Pointer. If you know my guitar channel, this is the star of the channel. Anyway, if you hover your mouse up, there's going to be an eye pop up and you'll hear Margaret's story. Besides work and guitars, I'm a student myself, so I know what it's like to be a student. Nowadays, I'm 62 years old, and I still attend college level classes that are on the topics of paralegal and law related classes. That seems to help me in my work and in my service to the school board. So back to the school board thing. Our demographic out here is we are about 50 miles north of Los Angeles. We're over the mountain of Los Angeles. From Los Angeles, there's a lot of things different. We're Acton and Agua Dulce. Our histories go back into mining in the 1860s and 70s. We are conservative. We care about what happens to our youth, and our district is building a lot of signature programs that take into account that we're just not turning out kids that can read and write anymore, but we've got to address the needs of those kids who are going off to higher education. kids that would like a vocation in one of the numerous trades around here. We're blessed around the Los Angeles area to have all kinds of industry, filming, construction, cranes, just about anything. So our district right now is really focused on coming out of those dark times I was telling you about. COVID was terrible for us. It was terrible for everyone, but we're building signature programs that are going to keep us fiscally solid without having to depend on some alternative funding thing that somebody decided to come up with. So again, I was hard at work on kind of standardizing these things. And remember, I run programs. You're not going to get very many Valentine's Day cards from me, but you will get the truth. So the series I'm doing, again, School Board Insider, if you're watching this right now and you're around the area, you know what's been going on lately. And you know, you either like me or you don't. But either way, you can depend on one thing. You're going to get the truth out of me. But let's say you're watching this 10 years from now. I want you to understand where we live. There's a 5,500-foot mountain down the road from me. There are rattlesnakes, there are mountain lions, there are deer around here. It snows here sometimes. There are fires a lot. There's tanker planes flying over here all the time. And yes, we do have earthquakes. So this is about a small rural school district in the Los Angeles, Freudian slip area. We have a proud heritage here. We got really good people here. And it's important to us that we keep what's important about our town here, and that it's sent out with our kids when they go out to become successful in the world. So I'm going to shed some light on some things for you. It's going to help me to have people around here asking, what am I doing, to kind of get an explanation as much as I can tell you about what's going on. But we're going to cover some topics like budget, financing, building, superintendent board member relationships. That's a good, or board member school staff relationships. That's a very slippery slope. Talking about how educational plans are put forward, and about basically a school board member, about 80% of what you do or more is calendared. You are there to hear budget plans. You are here to educational plans. You are here to deal with some employment issues and things like that. So this isn't something where you just come in and just do whatever you want and exercise what's going to be good for your kid or whoever's kid gets put in the newspaper this week. It's about all kinds of kids, from people that are less cognitive and less functional, all the way up to the bright kids that are really academic all-stars. So the first thing we're going to hit is, I've called it Secrets of Closed Session, because this is a place where you didn't bank on this. And I've said in another video, I did a what makes a good school board member video, I think in 2018. There's a link to it right up there, right about, I remember, chick flick teal pointer. Every teacher in every elementary school has one of these. You Guitar Channel guys didn't know that, but yeah, that's what this is about. Teachers love these things. It took the place of a ruler on my hand. It's kind of like, hey, pay attention, guys. But anyway, there's a link right up there right about now that will let you see a tongue-in-cheek look at me describing what a good school board member is. But there's a lot of truth to it. Watch it and check it out. It'll also pop up at the end of this video. But let's talk about the scariest place in the world, closed session. Okay, the first thing I want you to understand is when you are serving as a school board member, you really have to leave your own parenting behind. You can't be going in as a school board member and exercising the color of your office and the influence of your office and the bias of your office on staff. You just can't do that. You are also representing the taxpayer, and the reason you are there is so people don't just run off and play Bernie Madoff of school district and give themselves huge salaries and whatever. You're there to be a safeguard for the taxpayer, and those taxpayers are around you. They're miles away. They're in the state. They're actually in the nation. So you have an obligation to represent the taxpayer first. You're not a friend to anybody any individual, but you are the representative of everybody. Never forget that. Even if it's 10 years from now and you're watching this video, that's the most important thing you can remember. Now, closed session, there's a few things that you can talk about in closed session because all the public's business is supposed to happen out in the boardroom where the public can hear it and see it and comment to it. Now, there are some things that are reserved for closed session. One of them is negotiations. So you might be negotiating on a piece of property where you plan to build a school or a trade center or something like that, or a new athletic field. So when you're trying to buy and negotiate on the price of the field with the realtor or the lawyers or whatever, you don't run out there and say, hey, we're only going to give this guy $700,000 and he's trying to get $800,000, and then somebody else comes in and buys it the next day. So negotiations are a private thing. Negotiations in terms of employees, we have collective bargaining here. I actually sit on the union, the employee association where I work, so I understand collective bargaining. So there's some back and forth. They call it sunshining. Someone will want to sunshine an issue. In other words, we want to talk about a certain part of the contract. We want to focus on that. The public knows what that is. The negotiations happen in the background with negotiations for both sides, and then someone will come forward and update the board, and the board will set parameters. We're thinking about offering this much and doing this. So negotiations for salaries and benefits are something that we don't run out and talk about. Another thing is there are certain evaluations that happen. The school board has one employee, just one, not two or more, just one. And board members need to understand that. If you have 5 board members, you each have 20% role in your one employee, and that's the superintendent. You don't go around the superintendent and start dipping into staff, and you do this, and I show up at your school, and I kind of hint around, you should do that, because employees can feel that because you are a board member, this direction, and you're actually undermining your superintendent's ability to do their job. That can have consequences. We'll talk about some of those consequences here in a minute. But you are hiring a superintendent to be accountable to where the district wants to go. A good school board or city council will have board member, city council priority exercises. And those exercises, I'll probably get into this in a section called governance, but the bottom line, governance. If you come in as a board member, oh, I want this and I want this. Well, do you have enough staff to do that? Do they have enough time sitting around just waiting for you to come along and give them your expert tutelage when you've never been on the board before and just disrupt everything? Is there a means of letting the superintendent and the staff know in open session, hey, kind of here's what's important to me, here's what's important to them, let's focus on this for the next few years. Do you have a strategic plan? Those are the kinds of things that need to happen in open session. But when you're evaluating the superintendent, you want to make sure that you give the superintendent the room to work, and then you fairly evaluate them in closed session. All staff performance issues, other than commendations and advancements, those happen in the back room. And sometimes things happen that you are just like, oh no, I didn't know that, or I know that person. There's all kinds of things. You have to put all that aside and be objective. And remember, if you make wrong decisions back there, the taxpayers can be the victim. And when taxpayers are the victim and school funding goes to settlements and things like that, your ability to educate the kids and offer them significant programs, alternative programs, signature programs goes out the window. So I'm going on and on here, but we've got negotiations, we've got disciplinary issues. How do I tell you what being in closed session is like? Okay, here we go. Let's try this. I'm walking down the street. It's a busy street. There's a lot of people doing a lot of different things. And someone comes up to me and goes, hey, you, I need your help. Me and my 4 friends here, we need you to help us make a decision. You seem to look like an old man, thanks, that's knowledgeable. Yeah, I wouldn't assume that. But you need to come in and represent the taxpayer, all these other people walking around here, you need to come with us, and we're going to sit you down in a room, and we're going to tell you a story. Lawyers are going to tell you a story, and you're going to get a certain amount of facts, and then you're going to make a decision. Okay. So you get in the room, and you might not know who they're talking about. You'll know what they're talking about. And these things may hit you like, are you kidding me? Somebody did that? Or, wow, someone said that? Or, this person really thinks that they want that? And you have to put that all away. And you've got an attorney. Here's the thing about attorneys in school districts. Attorneys are about, this is the best you're going to do. Draw the line here, settle, offer this much, do this. Your long-term budget isn't going to do this. So you've got an attorney sitting there. Now, most school districts aren't big enough anymore to have their own attorney, so they have hired attorneys, attorney firms, and those firms have a legal obligation not only to the school district they represent, but to their own firm. So when you've got an attorney telling you, hey, you might want to do this, you might want to listen. So anyway, fast forward, you get this and you're like, I can't even believe this is happening. I can't believe someone did this. I can't say anything about it. I just have to decide yes or no. And someone's telling you what to decide. And so you vote the way that the recommendation is, because you got a set of facts that none of the other people walking down the street will know or will ever know unless you tell them. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So anyway, you vote and you go out without a lot of facts being, in the case of 1, 2, 3, 4, the board voted unanimously to accept the settlement agreement of X, and that's all it said. And you can't say a word. And sometimes those decisions aren't understood by the general public, and you have chaos, and you can't say anything. Because here's what happens when you say something. Let's say that somebody expected this and didn't get it and said this and got a lawyer and all this. And I go out and I say, okay, I don't think that this person did this or that or whatever, regardless of whether they did or not. Employees have rights. They can come back and basically say, you, board member Futsafa, whatever your name is, you made it to where I can't be employed. You affected my long-term employability. And so therefore, I want to be bought out of my contract, and I want you to give me X amount of money. And it's never $1. Trust me, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. And most people only have one thing that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's the house you live in. Now, let me shed a little bit of light on this from the public sector employee part of it. If you get called into closed session as an employee, you need to understand a couple of things. It's virtually impossible to sue a public agency because taxpayers are supposed to be represented. So you have to do something egregious and way out of the box, or you can't even sue the public agency. There are certain limitations and statutes of limitations and things like that. But one way to sue a governmental agency is to pick out an employee and say, that employee right there acted outside the boundaries of what is typical to the average reasonable person. And so therefore, I'm going to name them and the agency. Now, if you've ever had that happen, I don't want to get into too much detail here, but I'm an arborist. I run city trees. And sometimes there are legal disputes about city trees, and sometimes people file in Superior Court, go to appellate court, and then go to the Supreme Court. Not a big deal. It happens all the time. Sometimes courts won't hear the cases and send them back down or just dismiss them flat out. But when you're involved in one of these and you are in closed session as an employee and not a board member, city council member, and they look at you and they say, hey, we're going to defend you. But if it's determined that you acted outside of what is reasonable for your position, we are going to stop defending you. And we are going to join the plaintiff in seeking recompense from you. So here you are all of a sudden paying for your own legal defense, and the group or the agency that you thought you were working for is now suing you too because you didn't do what you're supposed to do. That is a very scary situation. So if you've ever experienced that as an employee, it's very serious. At the end of the day, if you are on the other end of the table and you're a board member or city council member, you want to understand that when you start getting way out of your lane, the lawyer may say, this board member is so far out of their lane, we cannot defend them. And all of a sudden, you're refused defense, you defend your own. And back to this closed session stuff, you can go in uneducated, naive, untrained, and kind of learn by the seat of your pants. And those lessons can be very expensive, and sometimes they'll cost you your house. And your family doesn't usually like that much. So at the end of the day, you want to remember, closed session is for the discussion of very certain things. You're there to work in the interest of the taxpayer. And above all, if you're going to ever run for a school board or a public office, you want to take the training it takes. And that training usually comes from going to school board meetings. I personally went to school board meetings for 5 years before I ran for election because the learning curve is very steep. Your first closed session can take all away that popularity that you had when you were drinking beers in your garage with the swamp cooler and talking about dirt bikes and talking about how bad I am so you can run, right? So get training. The California School Boards Association has a Masters of Governance training, and they take care of a lot of the stuff, the training for stuff, so you know about closed session, you know about the Brown Act, you know about Chick-fil-A, Teal Pointer, you know about budget, LCAP, and all those kinds of things. I'm going to give you a little bit about each of those in subsequent videos. We'll call it School Board Insider. That's great clickbait. I think somebody will be watching this stuff 10 years from now and saying, this is very interesting, unorthodox. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell you the truth here. I'm going to get back on putting my papers together, and this will be how I'm campaigning. So if you want to see what I'm up to, you're going to, I don't know, just giving me a like, giving me a vote, whatever. But just subscribe to the channel that way, click the notification bell. And when I release a video, you'll be notified, and I'll put these in a playlist and we'll start off. So at the end of it, you're going to have kind of the guy in the guitar shed telling you how to be a school board member. I've done it twice. We'll see what the third time brings. I'll close with this. The most rewarding thing, I have been through some stuff, and I'll kind of talk about those as much as I can in subsequent episodes. But when you see kids walking across the stage, and they are walking across towards you, and they shake your hand, and you see hope in their eyes, and you've known them since they were very small, and there's nothing more rewarding than that when it comes to you. If you are thinking about running for school board and you can't think about all the kids, I don't know what to tell you. It's about all the kids, and please foster a culture that you are the positive light to go to, where people can depend on you even in tough times. And that's been my success. So, hey guys, I'm going to close this one out now, and I'll see you soon about something else that you just have to know about.